Okay, this will be CIS 130, and this is script 25, file copy. This is the fourth video in a series of four, and it is a series of 5 exercises. The final one, the programming assignment on this one, Program 8, uses the concepts that are taught in these 4 scripting exercises to give you the basics to make that programming exercise reasonable. So this is the last of the 4, and we've seen script 22. We've seen this one, and if you look in here, you'll see that we have there are videos for you as well as this text file right here. This download is the code starter page, and so you will find the code that you need for these exercises. This is the starter on this, and of course you'll have to work this code to make it your own. And if you scroll down on the home page of our iCampus course, you'll find that text file available for you for download. This video is for script 25, and we call this a file copy. And what we're talking about is copying the information from one file and putting that file into another file. There are all kinds of ways that copy and paste work in the computer world. You might know them as keyboard shortcuts, where you highlight some information, you Control-C for copy, Control-V somewhere else for paste. We see this type of technology ubiquitously used now. And as a programmer, what you'll find is that it's very beneficial for you to make up backup copies of information. Sometimes the information you're making is a log file, for example. Who logged into the server, and you'd like to be able to have that, and it may be a backup of your customer database. Whatever it is that you need to make a copy of, a redundant copy, making backups will save your company, your organization, or you in a crisis where the original copy might have been lost. So copying is very important, and files are one of the things that one of the first things that we can use to learn how to handle this technology. Copy and paste. So in this case, we're going to use the file handling features that we've already seen. And we know the algorithm for opening a file is open the file, manipulate it in some way, which is read or write data, and then close that file handle. And we've seen that in other sections of code that we have done so far. And even in script 24, the 3 things we wrote to that file as an append were open a file, read or write data, and close the file. Very much the same that we have at this point, where we're going into another section where we're going to read and write at the same time. And if you think about it, where we're going, let's actually go ahead and just take over from where we were. We'll go to script 25, and so let's make a new, we're starting to get a whole lot of these, right? So we're going to go, we did a write, we did an append, we did a read, and so at this point what we want is we're likely going to do, let's try one of these, copy file is what we're going to do. And if you're following along in this series, what you'll remember is that we have used the same open file for all of these, and we've used the same close file for all of these. Since this is our 4th, we can just make our file handle be a 4 and not call the other files that we had before. So in this case, we've gone all the way through these. Let's go ahead, we'll make a file handle on here. We're going to do a close, and we'll do a number 4. Okay, so we're going to work on our 4th one. We're no longer using this write data, but we can leave it in here. It doesn't hurt anything for us to do this. And so here we are. We were using this right here, and so we can go ahead and do this. Open my file. We ran into that a couple of times, right? Is that we've got to have the same one on here. And we would say and what do we want to do? We want to read the file first, right? We need to open this file and read what we can from it. Okay, so if we look back in here, output was writing to it. If we were going to read it, we were using input and a line input on here. So what we're doing is we're opening the file for input first. And we're going to go ahead input as number 4. Okay. Up here in now what will be our copy file and keep in mind that input is the mode that's on here, copy file, return, and right here, let's write a little pseudocode. We want to read a line from file number 4. And then we'd like to write that line into file number 5. File number 5 doesn't exist yet because we haven't created the file. In theory, what we're being asked to do here is copy information from one file and put it in a second new file. So when we read something from this line 4, which is going to be our handle to this script 22 file, then we're going to write it into a file number 5, but that file number 5 doesn't exist yet. So where should it exist and what kind of structure should it exist as? I'm going to do open my file 5 $4, and what am I going to do? I'm going to put information into it. Sorry. So if I'm putting information into it, I'm doing an output. So I'm going to open it as output. And I'm going to call it number 5. Okay. So let's switch back over here. If you notice, this one says for output and for input and for append. And so it's still the same syntax in between these, but our mode changes here depending on what we want to do. So I've opened file 5 and I've opened what is file 4 now, but this one doesn't know what my file 5 is. This variable doesn't exist yet. So let's do this one. Let's call it my file 5 is going to be equal to my copy file. I am creating the name of my file, whatever I want it to be, and so I could actually call this one, for example, script25.txt. Let's check and see if I do give you something to call it. No, I don't. I just tell you to create and call a single subroutine called copy file. Inside the copy file, create 2 file handles, one for input, one for output. Inside the subroutine, read each line from the first existing file and write it to the second file. Okay. So I don't tell you what to call it, but in any respect, this is a way that we could do it. Open file, my 5, it still has to have, keep in mind, if I'm going to have a file handle, I need to have a file name which includes the extension on the file. So you need to have everything included in there. So there's 4, I'm opening 4, and I'm opening 5, one for putting it into, one from pulling it out of, and up here in my copy file, what I want is this. I have 2 different calls on here. One of them, I can read information. I'm going to take the syntax from another function and put it in here. I know this is number 4. Just like that, line input number 4, and basically then what I've got is I've got write number 5 line input. Okay, I copied the line from one and I pasted it into the other. I grabbed from the file for a line and then wrote it into this one 5. And so what's missing from us is the rest of the lines. This has done one line of data for us, but what we want is we want however many lines of data are in that file. Here we are. We have a do loop on this one. Again, if I can go ahead and bring this up here, I'll add it right on top here. And what I'm doing is I'm banking it on 4. 5 is endless for us. So really what I need in here is I want until 4 is done, and then I can add my loop on there at the end. Okay? So whatever this is, 4, whenever 4 is finally end of file, then I don't do that one. I just loop until I find the end of file of 4. That's my copy file. Now keep in mind, very important to us, I have 5 open and I have 4 open. When I get down here to the end, I want to close them off, but I want to close them in the proper order as well. And so what happens here is this. I started, if I can do a little pseudocode, I open 4, I use 4, I close 4, no, right? So I open 4, and then I open 5. And if I might just say like this, I'm opening this one, and then because it's different, I'll make a bracket here. So I open 1, I use 4 and 5, okay, so I'm done with both of them now. And then what I do is I want to close them in proper order, okay? And so I'm going to close both of them, but I opened 4 first, and then I opened 5. If I close 4 first, and then close 5, what you'll notice is that my brackets and my parentheses would be out of order. I would open a parentheses, have an open bracket, and then a closed parentheses, and then the closed bracket. What I need to do is I need to close them in the reverse order of how they were opened so that my code properly is nested. So I can have a 5 open and close inside of a 4 open and close, and that's the way that I want to do it. If I open 4 first, I want to close 5 first, and then close 4. That gives me the proper nesting on closing these that I want. We haven't run this file yet. I'll run it. I don't expect anything to be printed out on it because clearly we didn't do any prints on this one. But if we wanted to, since we've been using this file all in the same way, all at the same time, what we can do is we have read in here, right? We've got this read info. So if we want to, we can just go ahead and take this and add it in here at the bottom on here. We're going to say go sub read info, and we can read out that file here. So we've got append data. Here's my read file. And so what I've got is this is going to be, well, I guess we could just do, we could have one more open here. Open my file. Going to be 5, so it's going to be this one, $4. Are we? Nope. Input as $6. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you, and I'm going to bring you up here into the read info. What I'm going to do is right inside of this read info, because all I really want to do is just do my work in here and be done. I don't need to worry about all of the extra stuff that happens on here. I just want to read this file out, and right here inside of a function on its own, I can do this very thing right here, and I can simply run a quick function, opening and closing it all inside of a function. So let's see if I found this. Do until end of file 6. We're in as file 6. Open my file 5, and we've got that variable available to us, reading and printing out. So this is the one that is the final one of that one. And if I'm reading file, the very last one, if I run this one, I should see the contents of the file that I copied, I think twice this time. So I may see both. Yeah, so I'm seeing the contents of the file because I copied it twice. So there we go. That is the code that you're going to need for script 25.